Assalamu alaikum. So today we are going to talk about the process they never show you. Society applauds the arrival. It never asks what the road costs you. Everyone who has ever failed publicly knows the silence that follows. Not the silence of rest, the silence of being subtracted. You are still in the room, but the room has moved on. The applause, the attention, the conversations that used to find you on their own, they go wherever the winner of this particular season is standing. You stay behind to figure out what happened. I know that silence. I sat inside it for longer than I want to admit. I watched a professional chapter I had put years of real work into come apart, and the hardest part was not the collapse itself. It was realizing that nobody around me had a framework for it. In Morocco, for example, we do not have a public language for professional failure. We have a language for shame. And shame, unlike failure, doesn't teach you anything. What I found in that silence eventually was not what I expected. Not defeat, clarity. The kind that only arrives when everything you built your identity around is temporarily gone, and you can finally see which parts were actually yours and which parts you had borrowed from other people's expectations. The psychologist Carl Dweck spent decades on a question that sounds simple until you sit with it. Who do some people come back from setbacks while others get defined by them? Her answer had nothing to do with talent or intelligence or resilience as a personality trait. It was about mindset specifically, how a person reads the meaning of difficulty. A fixed mindset reads failure as a verdict on who you are. A growth mindset reads it as information about you, where you are. The difference sounds small. It is not. What I lived through taught me that the setback was not an interruption in the story. It was the chapter that made everything after it possible. The sociologist Emile Durkheim called the invisible web of shared values and expectations that holds a community together social solidarity. His point was that societies define success collectively, and that collective definition is enforced daily in families, in neighborhoods, in casual conversations after Friday prayer. In Morocco, that weight is specific and heavy. Success has a shape everyone recognizes. A stable government job, a house before 40, a wedding that extended family can attend, a salary your parents can mention with pride. When your trajectory doesn't match that shape, you are not just managing personal disappointment. You are managing your position in a social story that was never entirely yours to write. The philosopher Albert Camus wrote about the absurd, the collision between the human need for meaning and the world's refusal to supply it on a schedule. He didn't offer a resolution, he offered a stance. Look at it clearly, refuse to let it destroy you, and keep moving anyway. That is not optimism. It is something more useful than optimism. It is the decision to act before the meaning arrives. Before or because something, the meaning only becomes visible in retrospect. From the other side of the difficult passage, the communication researcher Everett Rogers mapped how new ideas actually spread through societies in his theory of diffusion of innovation. The pattern is never a straight line. It is a curve, and every point on the curve before the peak looks from the outside like failure. What Rogers showed is that the person who looks like they are failing may simply be early. The idea has not found its moment yet. The market has not caught up. The institution has not shifted. The setback is not proof that the direction was wrong. It is part of the arc. What society chooses to celebrate is the moment everything comes together. The lunch, the recognition, the visible result. What it systematically raises is everything that came before. The failed attempts, the pivots yourself where you had to admit something was not working, the months with you generally didn't know if you were building something or just burning time. That erasure is not accidental, it is structural. We build narrative bias into every success story we tell. Stop waiting for the world to validate your process before you continue it. The people who changed anything in their families, their fields, their communities, even in small and in a remarkable way, didn't wait for permission. They moved through the silence, through the season, when the room looked past them, and they kept building. Your failure is not the opposite of your success. It is the material your success will be made of when it arrives.